If you like a lot of wrestling on your wrestling show, watch this week's Raw. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, but 7 professional wrestling matches. And that's a bloody good thing. And not only that, but we had the return of a beloved superstar we thought we had seen the last of forever. It brought a tear to your eye. We saw the debut of a brand new title which looks better than the title it's replacing once again. That's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. Honestly. And just to round off this intro for these WTF moments from last night's Monday Night Raw, I have to let you know I got stung right in the middle of my nose over the weekend, just proving that 2020 is the absolute best year. It's the best. Hit the intro. WTF! Now, if you were to ask me about one thing I did not expect to see and or hear during this week's Raw, I will tell you about Daddy Drew McIntyre speaking about having a professional wrestling match against Dolph Ziggler on the edge of a cliff overlooking a volcano, and inside that volcano, along with, I presume, the really hot lava, the Flores lava on Netflix, is absolutely crap. There would be sharks with frickin' laser beams on their heads. That's right, Drew McIntyre in 2020 as the WWE champion, dropping the Austin Powers references. You love to see it. But you've got no doubt about it, if Drew McIntyre was to go to Vince McMahon and ask for those things I've just talked about for that match against Dolph Ziggler, Vince McMahon would reply, "We've only got Sebas, damn it!" If you know, you know. And I don't know about you at home, but initially, that sight there was a little bit... Heath, pal, we've fired your sorry arse after underappreciating your talents for so many years here in WWE, but to extend the old olive branch, we want you to come back for a one-off appearance on a random Raw in the middle of whatever month this is. I don't know where we are. Yes, ironically, Heath Slater is now being used more by WWE than he was when he was signed with WWE. It's a weird world we live in. Yes, this appearance from Heath Slater on this week's Raw was a massive shock, and not just because Heath Slater looks like he's eaten Rhino, his old tag team partner, and turned that Rhino mass inside of his stomach into lots of massive muscle massive muscle. Heath's a big sweaty man these days. But then Heath Slater started speaking, and the call to bring in Heath Slater to spice up this Daddy Drew McIntyre versus Dolph Ziggler feud was a master stroke on WWE's part, so it was. Heath Slater knocked it out the park, the way he brought in the history between himself and Drew McIntyre to make everything feel more monumental and tied together at the same time. It was absolutely lovely, so it was. If you haven't seen it, go out your way to watch that opening segment from last night's show. And I don't know about you at home, but I would love it. I would just love it if WWE Drake Maverick Heath Slater re-signed him after releasing him. Based off that promo alone, he bloody deserves it, doesn't he? And I say that because for a split second there, Heath Slater, by his words and his emotion and his performance, his demeanour, the whole shebang, he made the really likeable WWE champion, Drew McIntyre, really unlikable. He made Drew McIntyre look like a no-good dick, which is a WTF moment all of its own right. Why didn't you call him Drew? Why? But when all's said and done, this just felt like a way to give Heath Slater a proper platform to say a proper goodbye to the WWE Universe, who just love him. We all love Heath Slater, don't we? He was stood next to his pal, a tear in his eye. Lovely, lovely stuff. But did anybody else find it weird that the structure of that opening segment was potentially WTF moment worthy, as we went from Heath hates Drew because Drew didn't call Heath to Drew, kicking Heath right between the eyes in the middle of that little matchup they had. Dolph Ziggler gets upset that Heath couldn't beat up Drew, so Dolph beats up Heath, and then Drew comes down to save Heath, and then despite everything we've just seen there, Heath's like, Drew, I love you, pal. He went from heel to face quicker than the Big Show ever did, and if that's not a WTF moment, I don't want to know, because it bloody well is. I'm asking the question, as I'm sure you are at home as well, how hard did Drew McIntyre kick Heath Slater right in the face? And then we have Bayley talking about herself and Sasha Banks, and she said, when you're a once-in-a-generation talent like us, but there's two of you, and you're both part of the same generation. And this sentence from Bayley when she was stood there next to another human being left me asking the natural and very sane and logical question: are Sasha Banks and Bayley in fact the same person? Because of course, if they are indeed the same person, that would explain the friendship that then turned into hatred, that then turned into friendship, and a little bit of greyness as we find ourselves in right now. Or it does make complete sense in my deranged mind, at least, because most of the time I absolutely hate myself. Only a little bit, maybe Christmas Day. That's a portion of time when I don't in fact hate myself. I'm just speaking absolute bollocks now, aren't I? Take that one. Dirty sheets. Now, sometimes I hate making WTF moments actual WTF moments because it takes the joy out of professional wrestling, but this job just makes me do it, so I'll go and bloody do it, so I will. And I'm making the fact that a lot was made how Sasha Banks, she could not have been ready for that impromptu match against Kairi Sane. It was the last thing Sasha Banks was thinking of, a potential wrestling match against anybody, when she turned up for this week's show in her wrestling gear. The WTF moment overlords that power my entire being find that a hard pillow to swallow. The whole Sasha Banks, she couldn't have been expecting this matchup thingy, because we've literally seen Sasha Banks on last week's SmackDown and a few more SmackDowns in the past in the ring wearing street clothes. She has even wrestled a match in her street clothes, but last night's Raw, she was in her gear, so what was she expecting to do? Wrestle. What we must know from this now is the fact that if Sasha Banks is wearing her wrestling gear out of the blue, like her hair, based off what we've seen in the not too distant past, Sasha Banks is ready to compete. And I've been here before and I'm going there again. AJ Styles told us a long time ago, it's about the little things, and those details matter, so they do. Now, this shouldn't really be a WTF moment, but believe me, when it comes to WWE, it most certainly, most definitely is. Tom Phillips called Sasha Banks versus Kairi Sane one-on-one a first time ever match, and it actually bloody well is. Woo! The end is nigh, the end is nigh, time to run away, the end is nigh, nigh. Dominic! That t-shirt, you're exposing the businessman. We don't need to be told you're on the good guys team. We know this through the fantastic storytelling we see each and every week, and I'm not being sarcastic there. On Monday Night Raw, the storylines are good at the minute, I think. They're layered, they're complex, they're going in a clear direction. I like it. But Dominic, by wearing clothing like that, you must know you're going to have several old and bitter men shaking their fists furiously at a cloud in the sky. Be careful where you're going with that one. And I'm sorry, Kevin Owens, once again, the concept of these WTF moments and the WTF moments overlords in the sky, they want to make this a WTF moment, so they do. You saying Seth Rollins, I will never fight on your side, does not hold up much weight when you have already teamed with Seth Rollins 11 times throughout your illustrious careers. Yet just a heel turn away, Kev, a heartbreaking heel turn away. And just in case you're wondering, the first time ever where Kevin Owens teamed up with the body of Seth Rollins happened all the way back in 2007. PWG, Bowler, Night 3. It happened there, with the most recent, of course, taking place at Survivor Series 2019. I'm sorry, Kevin, but they said that Ronald Mysterio has a damaged eye, needs to wear an eye patch, but medically clear to wrestle. And I don't know about you, but I was thinking, woo-wee, it's a good job that first of all, you don't need your eyes to do the professional wrestling. And second of all, it's a good job that nobody has ever questioned WWE's medical teams. Woo. And that face there says it all, because Ronald Mysterio revealed during last night's Raw that at the horror show at Extreme Rules, he wants an eye for an eye match against Seth Rollins. And simply going off what Ronald Mysterio said during last night's Raw, the winner of this eye for an eye match is the man to remove the eye from their opponent's head. Those are words that came out of Rey Mysterio's mouth. And I do not know about you sat at home, but I cannot wait to see how WWE get around this complete and utter bollocks. I don't know about you at home once again, but I am praying for some prosthetic eyes and fake blood and lots of tropes from crappy 1970s films. Please, 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 make it so bad it's absolutely fantastic. But honestly, I've got to ask the question, whose idea was it to have Rollins and Mysterious say those words in that order? Why back yourselves up into that corner? How on earth are you going to get yourself out of this one, WWE? But whatever the weather, I bet that match at the horror show at Extreme Rules is going to be quite the spectacle. I'm sure that Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins are going to lash out at one another. Eyelashes. No matter what I'm saying though, all of these puns, they're a little bit corny, aren't they? Oh. So then we heard MVP speaking about how Apollo Crews turning down potential mentorship from the greatest ever United States champion was so disrespectful. And I don't know about you at home once again, but I was thinking Jon Moxley, AEW's Jon Moxley, he's offered to mentor WWE's Apollo Crews? Oof. And I say this of course because Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose, Stinky Pete, whatever pet name you want to give that man, he is the only man in WWE history to hold the WWE United States Championship longer than MVP himself. And that was by 8 days. 8 long days, fam. But of course, as we're sat here in 2020 after everything that's happened over the past year and a bit, WWE will never tell you this because now Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose, he's dead to them. Just like Chris Jericho, he's dead to them too. They're petty bastards. Now when you get past the shot they actually used during the live show last night, which makes the new United States Championship look like it's got a pair of testicles right in the middle of it, I reckon you will accept as well that is an improvement on the old US title belt. They've gone and taken something that was really tacky and cheap looking and like a toy looking and replaced it with something that isn't as tacky looking. Still a bit tacky though, but not tacky. Not as tacky. That's the most important thing. It's not as tacky. Plus, and I've got to mention this, it might just be my personal opinion, but that design there, the outline of it at least, harks back to the old WWF World title of the mid-80s. I like throwbacks, harking back, paying homage to old things like that. I'm all for that. It just feels more important when you look at the thing. Less like a toy. As I said before, it's less garish. It's an improvement. It's an improvement. Well done. Well, hold the phone there because MVP called it Extreme Rules the horror show and not the horror show at Extreme Rules, and lots of people backstage in WWE will be really angry for reasons. You can just picture it in your head, can't you? MVP heads backstage after cutting that promo. Vince McMahon sat there, Kevin Dunn sat there, whatever producer is still hired by WWE and hasn't contracted coronavirus, they're sat there saying, hello MVP, the horror show at Extreme Rules. That's the new fashion. Extreme Rules, the horror show, that's so last week. That's how they will all speak to MVP. Leave the man at home. Ric Flair is a 71-year-old man who was recently deceased. And I don't just say that for a joke. A couple of years ago, Ric Flair died for a short period of time and then came back to life. If that is not an underlying health issue and puts Ric Flair at a higher risk than most, I don't know what is, man. WWE, keep the guy at home. And then we finish off these WTF moments from last night's Raw with yet more coronavirus talk. It's what everybody wants to hear. We're not sick of it at all, are we? Nikki Cross is in the crowd. Nikki Cross has no mask on, so what's the bloody point? Bloody hell, think it through, man. And so that's it for your WTF moments from this week's Raw. A lot of wrestling, a lot of things to like. I like this week's Raw. You should like it too, maybe. I don't know. You might not like it, and if you don't, that's good for you. I've been Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic.com. Goodbye.